Hey guys, and welcome back. So, we are continuing our medical mushroom collection inside of the immune system series. And today we're going to talk about Maitake mushrooms. Now, I have to say, after spending the last couple videos talking about Reishi and Turkey Tail, I'm pretty excited about this one because this mushroom, well, is actually delicious, right? You don't have to spend a lot of time to use it. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons why I like it. Because this isn't just another mushroom that's been ground into a powder, stuffed into a capsule, or hidden at the back of your supplement cabinet, right? It is a mushroom that people genuinely enjoy eating. And it also happens to have a really interesting history because the name Maitake is commonly translated as dancing mushroom. And one of the stories behind that name is that people were so excited when they found these mushrooms growing in the wild that they would literally dance with joy. Now, I can't confirm whether people were actually dancing around the forest over mushrooms, but I have been known to do the happy girl dance when my favorite plate of food shows up, so I could see it happening. So today, let's talk about what Maitake actually is, why it became so highly valued, what researchers have discovered about it, how it supports your immune system, and keeps showing up in conversations about other body systems as well. Because once again, mushrooms don't read textbooks, so they don't know where to stay. So, what is Maitake? Well, Maitake's scientific name is Gryphola frondosa. That's a fun little name. Also commonly called hen of the woods. And if you've ever seen one growing, well, that name makes perfect sense. Unlike the mushrooms you buy in the grocery store that grow individually, Maitake grows in these large clustered masses that almost look like overlapping feathers. And they're commonly found at the base of hardwood trees, especially oak, and some of those clusters can become absolutely enormous. Now, we're not talking about handfuls of mushrooms. We're talking about mushrooms that can weigh several pounds. It's a big hen of the woods, but which honestly makes the dancing story a little bit funny, right? Imagine carrying a 20-pound mushroom out of the woods while trying to celebrate it and dancing, right? So a mushroom with a long history, Maitake has been valued in Japan and China for centuries. And historically, it wasn't simply appreciated because people thought it might support health, right? Nobody went out in the woods looking for that, right? People just genuinely loved it because it tastes good, right? And I think that's the important distinction for this one. Sometimes we separate, as we know, food and herbalism way too much, and we forget that in history, they were very, very connected. Now, many traditional cultures didn't separate things out like we do, right? But food wasn't just calories, right? Food was nourishment. And mushrooms occupied a really interesting place because they provided flavor, texture, nutrients, and unique compounds that weren't commonly found in other foods. So, how does Maitake support the immune system? Well, now let's get into the reason this mushroom found its way into our immune system series. One of the most studied groups of compounds found in Maitake are those silly beta-glucans, right? So you've heard me mention them in the Reishi and the Turkey Tail videos, right? So these are naturally occurring compounds found in fungal cell walls. And researchers have spent years studying how certain mushrooms derived with beta-glucans interact with your immune system. And this is where I'm going to repeat something that I think is really important. Remember, we don't love the phrase boost your immune system because your immune system isn't a muscle that we can simply just make bigger. Your immune system is constantly communicating to identify things, right? So it's responding, it's regulating, it's adapting, right? And researchers are interested in how compounds found in mushrooms may influence some of those processes, right? And that's much more an accurate conversation than simply just saying Maitake boosts immunity, right? So diffraction, right? If you get into any Maitake research, you'll read diffraction. And this is one of the more commonly discussed extracts derived from Maitake. And you'll see it mentioned sometimes in the supplement marketing of it as well too. And this is where we need to kind of separate three very different things, right? So you've got traditional use, you've got laboratory studies, and you've got human studies, and those aren't the same things, right? So research involving Maitake has explored immune function, but it's important to understand exactly what researchers are studying. And a specific extract isn't automatically the same thing as eating the whole mushroom. And the whole mushroom isn't going to be the same thing that you're probably getting in your supplement, right? So understanding those differences helps us become much better at evaluating all those health claims that are out there. And then Maitake starts crossing into other symptoms or into other systems. So because Maitake refuses, right, to stay in the immune system chapter, research involving Maitake has also explored areas involving glucose metabolism, insulin sensitivity, blood pressure, and lipid metabolism. And suddenly, we're no longer talking about immunity. We're talking about your metabolism, right? We're talking about your cardiovascular health. We're talking about your blood sugar, right? And here we are again, right? And those pesky mushrooms not staying where we want to put them. So maybe that's exactly what they're supposed to do, right? Maybe the plant knows more than we do, right? Because body systems don't operate independently, right? So your immune system is not working in isolation. And as we dig more into the immune system, you'll see this. The cardiovascular system, not isolated whatsoever. And your metabolism definitely doesn't work in isolation. So everything is communicating. Everything is overlapping. And that's one of the biggest lessons I hope people continue to take away from this series, and the important part, right, of the holistic view, right? And I think Maitake stands apart from the other mushrooms we've covered up to this point for a simple reason. People actually just eat it, right? And that matters because this mushroom gives us an opportunity to remember that wellness doesn't always have to come from a bottle, right? Sometimes your wellness is simply sitting on your dinner plate. And if you enjoy mushrooms, I know there's a love-hate out there. Maitake can be roasted, sauteed, added to soups, combined with vegetables, and incorporated into all kinds of savory dishes. And if you're sitting here thinking, absolutely not, I hate mushrooms, well, that's okay. There's other options, right? You'll find Maitake as capsules, powders, extracts, tinctures, and of course, supplements. Not everyone enjoys mushrooms. I'm sorry for y'all, but based on the comments, right, from some of previous topics, right, well, as we know, there seem to be two types of people in this world, right? People who love mushrooms and people who think mushrooms have, well, ruined their life in general. So there doesn't seem to be much middle ground. So what should you look for in a supplement? So if you're shopping for Maitake supplements, I want you to flip bottle or bag over, right? Look for the scientific name, okay? Look for the information about the mushroom material being used. Is it the fruiting body, right? Is it the mycelium? Is it an extract, right? Have they pulled in one constituent? Is there any information about standardization of it? The more information a company provides, right, the easier it becomes to understand what you're actually spending your money on. Because mushroom blend doesn't really tell you very much. Now, does it? As always, we're going to talk about safety, right? Natural doesn't mean appropriate for everyone. So Maitake is commonly consumed as a food. but concentrated supplements are different. If you take medications that affect blood sugar or blood pressure, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have a significant medical condition, please talk to your healthcare provider before you're doing any of this. And if you're foraging for wild mushrooms, right, please make sure you identify the right thing, or that's going to make a fun story. So I think Maitake teaches us something really important. Supporting our health doesn't always have to be complicated. It doesn't always require another capsule. I know some supplements, sometimes you can get up to where you're taking like 15 of them at once, right? It doesn't always require us to do that. And sometimes it could be just as simple as appreciating the food that has been valued by those dancing people for generations. And I think that's a really good lesson. Because if there's one thing these mushrooms keep teaching us, it's that nature doesn't fit neatly into the categories that we want to put it into. Everything connects. And apparently, mushrooms play by the same rules. So next time, we're going to stay in the kitchen because we're talking about another mushroom that many of you have probably been inundated with, shiitake. So until next time, stay rooted, stay curious, and as always, keep growing in grace.